Trump's close aide was asking Boris Epstein whether he could come up with any examples of election fraud allegations, even if they weren't proven, it looked like, to relay to the president. So, just sort of getting a larger picture here about how the special counsel has been looking at the question of what Trump was saying behind closed doors to better understand his intent.
Mike, I want to read some of the sections that you alluded to, and I'll start with the General Milley anecdote. You report here about some aides and allies who interacted with Trump in the days after the election, who have previously disclosed that Trump indicated that he knew he lost the election. In testimony before the House Select Committee, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, said that in the Oval Office meeting in late November or early December 2020, Trump acknowledged that he had lost the election. Quote, he says words to the effect of, yeah, we lost. We need to let that issue go to the next guy, Mr. Milley said, adding, quote, meaning President Biden. Quote, and the entire gist of the conversation was, and that meeting lasted maybe an hour or something like that, very rational, General Milley said. Quote, he was calm. There wasn't anything. The subject we were talking about was a very serious subject, but everything looked very normal to me. But I do remember him saying that. And then to your point about timing, how Trump seemed to grow radicalized after losing 60 lawsuits, where his campaign wasn't able to manufacture any evidence of fraud, General Milley notes this. In subsequent meetings, quote, Trump had increasingly discussed how the election was stolen from him. Quote, it wasn't there in the first session, but then all of a sudden it started appearing, General Milley said. What's public-facing and what you and your colleagues have reported is that Team Normal, as the Trump folks call themselves, gets replaced by Team Lunatic, Sidney Powell, Rudy Giuliani, Mike Flynn, the pillow person, and the Overstock person. Are there other variables that change what Milley describes here as a knowledge that he had been defeated and then sort of growing radicalized in the belief that somehow it had been stolen from him?
I hate to try and explain why something changed in Donald Trump's mind. What I find sort of remarkable about that is that it took Trump until those final, weeks of his administration to really find the people that were going to do what he wanted. Along the way, there were a lot of them. He did have Bill Barr as his attorney general. He did have a lot of people in important cabinet positions that went along with his outlandish, and questionable ideas at different points. But it's really only in those final weeks that he's able to get down to the people that are truly willing to do anything for him, with Rudy Giuliani being at the center of that. And it's like if Trump had only figured that out earlier, I think that he would have been able to have been far more effective in his ability to try and stay in power. And he would have, it's just sort of remarkable that it takes him until the end of the administration to truly find those people that are just going, even further than we thought anyone around him would. And a lot of those people suffering enormous consequences now, whether they're, whether it's something sort of like taking their law.
Today, the mainstream media goes all in for human traffickers to own the cons. A new report reveals Joe Biden is getting testy with aides behind the scenes, and actor Jonah Hill's ex leaks their text messages alleging emotional abuse. But we'd like to hear your thoughts on the matter. We've got all of that and more coming up, and it all starts right now. Welcome to the News and Why It Matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez, and the new movie Sound of Freedom, a movie about the very true and very disgusting world of sex trafficking, is expected to top a whopping $40 million at the box office. On the first day of opening, July 4th, it overtook the new Indiana Jones movie and has not stopped gaining ground since. Now, the film opened in 2,850 theaters and earned an A+ rating from CinemaScore. It cost $14 $2.5 million to produce, with $5 million of that cost being crowdfunded. And although the movie is based off the true story of former DHS agent Tim Ballard, a man who, by the way, I have personally interviewed about some of his trafficking rescues, a man who founded an organization whose sole purpose is to rescue women and children from harrowing situations, the mainstream media is very upset about the movie's success. To the mainstream media, this is a political issue, I guess, because apparently we can't just all agree that human trafficking is wrong and should be stopped. Here's CNN trying to convince people that the movie is just trying to induce moral panic and appeal to conspiracy theorists. Watch.
And you seem pretty familiar with him because he doesn't really hide his association with this real wild plot that involves, drinking the blood of children and things like that.
No, he doesn't hide it at all. And you have a lot of people who are in this world of QAnon who say, oh, they don't know what that is, they never heard of it, they're just asking questions. With somebody like Jim Caviezel, he is openly embracing it, he's openly using its catchphrases and its concepts, he's speaking at QAnon conventions, and this film is being marketed to either specific QAnon believers or to people who believe all of the same tenets as QAnon, but claim they don't know what it is.
And The Sound of Freedom does focus on a real issue of sex trafficking. But that theme, it's sort of like that kernel of truth that feeds the QAnon conspiracy theory. Tell us how those two things work together.
Sure, and the most durable and the most believable conspiracy theories are not entirely false. There's something in them that is true and the rest of it is false, but the believers point to the one true thing and they say, oh, you don't believe that this particular thing is true. In terms of child trafficking, we know trafficking is real. We know it has real victims. No one is denying that.